All right, so the next part of the agranulocytes that we'll talk about are going to be the lymphocytes, okay? The lymphocytes we are going to go over in a whole lot more detail when we get to chapter 17, okay? Because in terms of the lymphocytes, this is part of these are part of the third line of defense. So these are going to target specific pathogens. And in terms of our lymphocytes, okay, we can have two types of lymphocytes that we'll talk about. We've got B lymphocytes, or B cells, all right, and we've got T lymphocytes, or T cells, all right. Both B and T lymphocytes, you can pick those out underneath a microscope because they look very different from our granulocytes and from our macrophage, all right? This is going to be our nucleus. And if you notice, it looks like I've drawn a huge nucleus and an itty-bitty cell, all right? What happens with the B cells and T cells, that's going to be the way they're going to look underneath the microscope. There's a little bit of cytoplasm that surrounds the nucleus, all right? And in terms of picking out a B cell versus a T cell on a blood smear, that's not something I'd ever have you do, okay? Because in terms of that, it's really hard to pick up a difference between a cell that's a B cell and a T cell. You kind of have to label some of the tags that are on the outside of the cell to be able to distinguish them clearly, all right? So they're going to look similar. Their functions, though, are going to be different, okay? B cells are going to produce antibodies for us, okay? And in terms of that, we'll talk about specifically the B cells and how they make those antibodies in chapter 17. But in terms of that, the cellular response there is going to be a little indirect. It's going to be mediated via antibodies, all right? T cells are a cell-mediated response. And really what that means difference-wise, B cells secrete something that will end up ultimately killing the pathogen. The T cells are going to directly kill the infected cell. So more often than not, T cells are responsible for killing virally infected cells. They're also the part of your immune system that's going to target cancer cells as well. So in terms of that, when we talked about HIV, this is kind of how the HIV virus gets around being destroyed, because it's destroying the cells that would normally destroy the HIV virus, okay? So in terms of that, the T cells are a cell-mediated response. Typically, they're going to directly kill the cells, okay? Natural killer cells are also a type of agranulocyte. Natural killer cells, I don't want to get too much into their function right now. Oop, natural killer. But in terms of that, it's also going to be part of the third line of defense. It's going to be a little bit specific as far as how it works, all right? So in terms of that, with our lymphocytes, we've got B cells, T cells. The natural killer cells are also a type of agranulocyte, okay? One of the other things that I'm going to want you to be able to do is going to be list the order of abundance of the different white blood cells, okay? And in terms of that, this is going to be how that pans out. We've got the neutrophils being most common. the lymphocytes, the monocytes, eosinophils, and then finally basophils are going to be the least common circulating white blood cell. All right? And, you know, I put that up and you're probably like, oh yeah, you know that because you've studied this for so long. And really the way I remember the order of the white blood cells is using a mnemonic. So instead of remembering neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils, what I remember is for the order of abundance of the immune cells. I never let monkeys eat bananas, okay? That's what a mnemonic is. You're taking essentially the first letter, or you're making a sentence. Either way is fine. But in this case, you're taking the first letter and you're creating a sentence that incorporates each of those letters, all right? Never let monkeys eat bananas. That puts a visual in your head of a monkey being kept away from a banana, all right? And when you put things together that are a little bit silly like that, it helps you remember terms and it can help you remember order, okay? So be able to list for me the order of abundance of our white blood cells: neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils, okay? Thank you for your attention. Let me know if you have any